last week we were talking about storage account. We spoke about what exactly is storage account, what are the different types of storage account we got. Okay, what are the benefits of storage account? It's highly available, it can be easily scalable, there are security. Without access keys and shared access signature you cannot access storage account, and this account storage can be easily accessible globally using HTTP or HTTPS. There are four types of services which is provided by storage account. It's a container service wherein you can store any sort of blob. What do you mean by blob? So any sort of unstructured data such as video file, image file, MP3 files, all these can be stored in a blob container. Then you got files wherein we can provision highly available file share in cloud. We got tables, you can store structured non-relation data in these tables. Then we got queuing service wherein you can store and retrieve messages between application, but the only difference is this will process asynchronously. We have understood what is synchronous and asynchronous. Okay, apart from it we have understood storage replication, what is LRS, what is ZRS, what is GRS, and what is read access geo-redundant. So these were the things which we have covered last week on the last day. So anyone has any questions with these topics before we go and start with the practical stuff? So this was more of theory, guys. So today we'll focus on practical and we'll see how exactly this storage replication happens and how do we create containers, how do we insert data in it, what is soft delete, what are different tiers of data to be stored. All this we'll understand today. Okay, so if you have any questions, do let me know before we start with the practical today. Perfect. Thank you, Josh. Okay, let's go and create the first storage account. Okay, just log into portal.azure.com and at the top look for storage. In this storage, go and click on create. Don't have a resource group, let's go and create a resource group. Give a storage account name, whatever name you want to give. Make sure no uppercase, no lowercase, no extra character. You have to create something like this. Region East US, performance standard, redundancy, I'll stick with LRS. Okay, I'll stick with LRS, and in the advanced, this is all okay. We spoke about data lake also. What exactly data lake is? Enable public access for now. I'll just disable all this soft delete for now. Review and create. So this is a standard storage account which we are creating. Inside the storage account, now you can go and decide what kind of data you want to store. You can create containers, you can create file share, you can even create tables and queue. This is totally up to you what you want to do. So initially to start with, we'll start with containers. Containers is basically you'll be using the most when you're creating a storage account, and then you will be using the file share. Tables and queues very rarely, because as I said, queues is providing asynchronous replication, and table is like it says that it stores non-SQL data, but that's not highly available. You'll have to, if you want an application and you want the processing to be fast and things like that to happen, then you either need to use Cosmos DB or DynamoDB, or if you're using any open source, then MongoDB and PostgreSQL. These are the databases which you can use. Okay, so we got the storage account created. Okay, now if you see the storage account overview page, this is standard, and this is a replication method which we are using, that is LRF. Account type storage v2, that's general purpose v2. Now this storage account has nothing right now. It has no hierarchy namespacing. If you enable hierarchy namespacing, then you can even use this storage account as a data lake. Okay, keep that in mind. Now if I come down in the data storage option, there is the option of containers. This is the place wherein you can create containers. So basically you can create a first container. Container don't go with the name, it's just a folder wherein you just creating a folder wherein you can dump your data. As simple as that. So you give whatever name you want. So just name it as Valaxy Blob. Even though I have enabled public access at the storage level, at the storage account level, you can even control accesses at the container level also. So if I'm keeping it private, no anonymous access, so only a required person can access this storage account. Created. Done. Successfully created. Now if I go inside, now this is the place wherein you can upload your data and you can dump your data basically. Now there are multiple ways of uploading. One of the easiest way which I'm showing is through the portal. You can just click on this button and upload it. You can integrate storage account with your application using the APIs, the SDKs, and you can access storage account directly from your application. You can even use Azure CLI using AZ copy command. You can copy data to your storage account, upload data, delete data. You can basically manage everything from CLI. You can even manage things from PowerShell. You can even use storage account explorer. So it comes free, like you go on Google and look for storage account explorer. You can download that explorer on your local and you can even upload directly using the explorer. So there are multiple ways you can upload, manage data inside storage account. The one which I'm showing, this is other way. Directly using your browser, you can access data. Like for example, if I'm putting this notes, okay, we got this uploaded over here. Now just look at, this is the name of your file which you have uploaded. This is the time and date when it was uploaded, and there is something called access tier. Now access tier is what? Now you see hot. Okay, there are three types of access tier which you will come across in this segment: hot tier, cool tier, and archive tier. So when you're storing data in cloud, it grows at an exponential pace. So you will not even come to know your data keeps on growing. Okay, keeps on increasing, and this will have an impact on the charges. Okay, when your data is keep on growing and if it has having impact, so what best you can do? So in order to manage cost of your expanding storage, what you can do, you can help whatever the frequently accessed data is, you can keep that in the front end, and everything you can push behind to store to save some cost. Now what exactly that means, let me explain you. Now when you see this hot tier, so this is the online for storing data that is getting accessed more frequently. If you have some data which is getting accessed more frequently, then that comes into hot tier. Okay, this has the highest cost because you're accessing this data more frequently, then it comes into hot tier, and this comes with an additional cost. Now if you imagine that there are some data which are not been accessed for more than 30 days, there are some data which has not been accessed more than 30 days, that eventually goes into cool tier. That is the cool tier cost is lesser than the hot tier. Okay, so this way you'll be storing some cost here and there. Okay, so basically this is the cool tier will be for storing data that is infrequently accessed or modified, and in cool tier the data should be stored for minimum for 30 days, and cool tier has lower cost and higher access cost compared to the hot tier. So cool tier will have lower cost as compared to the hot tier. Now let me open up Paint and let me give you a diagram explanation. It will make no sense. Okay, so this is your container. Within the container itself, you got three tiers. The first tier is the hot tier. So basically, this hot tier is a costly affair. It has higher cost, the access cost. Okay, and this the data which is accessed more frequently that goes into hot tier. Now suppose the data is not getting used more frequently. Now you got infrequent data that has not been accessed since last 30 days. Imagine. Okay, so you can put this data into cool tier. The only requirement is that the data should remain in this cool tier for 30 days minimum. Okay, so this is infrequent access. So the only data which goes in cool tier, so this the data which is infrequently accessed and getting modified infrequently. So what are the benefits? Lower cost as compared to the hot tier, and your data are stored. Now once you're done with the cool tier, now suppose there are data which has not been accessed for more than 180 days, and some data which is getting rarely accessed. Okay, you're not even accessing the data, but these data are getting rarely accessed. So there's one more tier which you will come across, that is archive tier. So basically the data is getting archived over here. The data basically gets archived over here. Okay, so this is an offline tier. So this two tier which you just saw, this is online tiers. That what does that mean? That you can go and access things directly from this portal or from anywhere, and you will have access to the data. These are both called as online tier, wherein if you come across this archive tier, accessing data will be not this easy. You cannot directly click on access like the way I am accessing my data. So this will not that easy in archive tier. In archive tier, when you want to access data, you need to send a request to Azure support team. They will make the data available either in the cool tier or in the hot tier. So as we know, the offline tier, this is called as offline tier, optimized for storing data that is rarely accessed and that has flexible latency requirement. When I say flexible latency requirement, that if you want to access the data, you have enough time that there is no impact. Okay, that data comes into archive tier. So, so whenever you give request to Azure storage, then they will take more than an hour, sometimes 5 hours, 6 hours to get you this data. Okay, because what exactly happens, I'll tell you. So it's an additional sandbox which gets attached in the data center. SAN is nothing but it's a storage, and wherein all these archive data are getting stored. And when you wherever there's a request, then they may attach that SAN, then they may get you those data access. So this is basically what they do. Okay, and minimum the data should be stored for 180 days in archive tier. This is 180 days minimum. This is minimum 30 days, guys. This is the minimum requirement. If you're putting your data, make sure the data are stored at least for 30 days in the cool tier to get the benefit of cool tier. This one is costly affair. This is low, has lower cost as compared to hot tier, and this is very cheap. Okay, so this is what there are three tiers: hot tier, cool tier, and then you got archive tier. Remember this tier way, because why I'm focusing more on this tier, because later in this I'll show you the life cycle, that how do you automate this entire process of moving the data from hot to cool to archive. This is something we'll see. Okay, I think there are questions. Let me go through it. Okay, problem help hearing me. Am I audible to you guys? Am I audible to everyone?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
Yes,
Can you?
you're audible to us, but there's a guy on WhatsApp that's having
Yeah.
problem.
He says you are unable to hear. Can you please help me with the one link also not working? We everyone joined with the same link, correct? Okay, so let him join. Okay, perfect. Thank you, everyone. Okay, there was question from Josh. Okay, no, not Josh. After 180 days, does the archive subscription renew itself? No. So there's no renew as such. So 180 days is the minimum requirement. Post that you can keep it for how long you want. So there's no subscription or anything as such. So minimum you have to keep the data in archive for 180 days. It should not happen that you kept it for 90 days and again you're saying no, I want the data. That will not count it in archive. That will be in cool tier. Then the calculation of costing will happen in cool tier. So you have to keep it in. Same goes with your cool tier. Now on the 20th day you're accessing the data. So you are getting charged for the hot tier also. So cool tier is minimum 30 days you need to keep your data in cool tier. So keep that in mind. Okay. Hope that helps. Mumin. Okay. Thank you. Now don't worry about this, guys. This is nothing you have to do manual. This is all will be automated. I'll show you the life cycle management later. How do we manage this automatically? How do you create a life cycle so that your data are moved automatically? This is something we'll see it. Okay, let's go back to your portal. I think Mumin has some questions. Okay, great, no questions. Now we have seen the access tier part. Now there's one more thing you can see over here is the blob type. Now we never spoke about blob type. Now what exactly this blob type is? So I see something called blob. Okay. So now this is something new what we are seeing. Now what exactly this type is? Let's open Notepad. Okay, so let's use his notes. So blob type, there are three types of blob which you can, so basically three types of data which you can segregate and keep it. And the blobs are blobs are specific to those. So the first type is block data, blob. There's so many blob. The second is append blob. The three types, append blob. The third is page blob. Okay, so blob is basically it will store text binary data up to about 4.7 TB. So it stores text binary data. So this is the block of data that can be individually managed. Okay, so generally all files such as your media file, your documents, everything comes into blob. Okay, so if you have noticed the file which I have stored, this is nothing but it's a text file which I have stored, so it comes into blob. So all your basic files, media files, video files, mp3 files, all these gets uploaded into blob. So it stores text binary data. That's blob. What is append block now? It is made up of blocks like blobs. So it is very similar to blobs, but are optimized for append operation. This is mainly used for append operation. Now just think of what are the append operations we do. mainly used for append operation. So it is ideal for application that are logging data from virtual machines. So application logs, this is where we keep on appending, correct? Event logs. So these are the scenarios wherein you will be using append blob, wherein you need to append data to the end of the file. So in the log file, what happens? Your log file keeps on growing and data keeps on appending at the end of the line. Like suppose this is my, just imagine this is my log file, the file which I'm now, if I want to add something new, I'll start adding over here at the new line, correct? This is how it gets appended in the new line, and no new file gets created. It's the same line which gets appended. So if you have any such requirement, then append blob, this is mainly used for append operation. For example, what type of data you can store? You can store application logs, event logs. Okay, so this will be basically used for appending your data. Now, what is page? So this is basically, it is stored random access files. So if you want to store random access files up to, so the what will be the size? Up to 8 TB. This is the biggest size which you can use. Random access file, basically this is used for storing VHD files. VHD file is what? Virtual images. So page blob is used to store VHD files that backs VM. Now if you remember, we have created backups and everything. We have created images. Where exactly those images was getting stored in the backdrop? They were using containers and page blob, and they were getting stored as a VHD files in the backdrop. This is how things happens. So there are three types of files: block blob, append blob, page blob. And don't worry, this will automatically, container will detect what type of file you're storing. If you want to specify which type you're storing, you can do that even. Okay, what all things I have covered today? The three tiers. Hot tier. Hot tier is frequently accessed data. Cool tier, infrequently accessed data, but both are online tiers. You can access the data any given point of time. Okay, that means online tier. The third tier is archive tier, wherein if you want to access, you need to give a request to Azure, then Azure will give you the access. Third, secondly, we talked about types of blobs. There are three types of blobs. Block blob. Blob is basically used for storing text binary data. Okay, and this is, it will store data up to 4.7 TB. You can increase it later, that doesn't matter. Okay, this blob is basically used to upload data such as video files, media files, or any documents. Second is append blob. Append blob is basically used for append operation. Appending operation means if you want to store any logs, app logs, event log, then this is the best place to store. Page blob is to store random access files up to 8 TB. VSD files, which is backed by VMs, it's stored into page blob. Okay. Anyone? Any questions till now? So this is what we have seen it over here. Access tier and the type of blob. Archive status, if this gets archived, then you can see the status over here. Okay. And this is the size of the file. And this is lease state. Now lease state is also a very good topic to understand, guys. This is something we'll use a lot when we start working with Terraform and we start storing a state file in this containers. So lease state is basically leasing this particular blob for any sort of access. Like suppose this is a very important file and you don't want two people making changes to this file at the same time, because what could be the issue if two people are changing? It could end up corrupting this file, correct? So you apply a lease kind of thing. So when you do a lease, so this is auto lease, this is, I'm showing it manual for now, but this is how you will be leasing this. So when you lease it, you will be the only person who will be able to make changes to this file. If you see, this is leased, like how you rent a home, rent a house. So when till the time you are renting, you're paying the rent, that house belongs to you. No one can else and come and tell you to go out, I want to stay over here. No, there's a proper agreement and everything. What you do, you have paid money to the owner and everything, you have leased it. Now you are using that space till the time you required and whatever agreement you have signed. Now once you're done with your job, once you're done with your work, once you're done with your agreement, you can go and unlease it, break the lease. So you're breaking the agreement kind of thing. Now any other person can come and lease it and they can utilize that space. Same goes with this file. If you're leasing it, then no one can use that space, only you can make changes, whatever changes you want to make. And if you broke the lease, then anyone else can come and acquire the lease again and they can use it. This is what the lease concept is. Where exactly this concept will be used highly, I'll show you during the Terraform, where exactly this options will be, we will be using this option very highly over there. Okay, that is the other part. So these are all the properties, the access tier, the archive tier, the blob type, the lease state. These are all properties of your blob container. What exactly it is? These are properties. This could be a very interview question, like what are the different properties of blob tier? So you can talk about all this. Okay. Now these are more information about this blob and things like that if you want to go through. And if you want to access this blob, this is the URL. If I want to access, I can go and use this URL and I'm getting an error. The error is because my blob is private. Correct, guys? My storage account is public, but my blob is private. No one from the internet can have access to this blob directly till the time I don't give access. So for now, let me make this blob public, then I can access. Change access level, you can go and make it read access. If you want to give a read access to this blob. Now still, let me see before I speak anything. See this, I'm able to access now. Service plan, this is what the file is all about, guys. This is what, it's a random file, a node file. Okay, there over here also we have got hot tier and cold tier archive tier written over here. Okay, so this is nothing but this file which I have written while explaining. Now this is, I have given access, hence I am able to access. Now if I just go and make it private, still people will not be able to access this file. Okay, keep that in mind. Now let's go back into the blob now. Okay, now at the top you can see there's an option of version and snapshot. Now if I go and make changes to this file, there's no new version getting created. Okay, if I go and edit this file, for example, if I edit this file, let's see, I come down, let's write some git command, git logs. Okay, now I save it. Now if I go back to the versions, there's no new version getting created. Why? This is because we have not enabled versioning. If you want to have any new versions created, you need to go and enable versioning at the storage account level. Where you need to go and enable versioning at the storage account level. So your versioning will not be enabled at any blob level or container level. This will be enabled at the storage account level. Now, how do you go and access storage account? Go to storage account, go to this storage account, come down in the option where you see redundancy. Not this, just give me 1 sec. Data protection. Now in the data protection, do you see tracking? So under storage account, data management, data protection, there's an option of tracking. Do you see there is an option of enable versioning for blobs? So this is the option which you need to check. Successfully enabled. Now just refresh it once before I go and use it again. Go to the storage account again. Go to containers. Go to your blobs. Now make changes. Let's add something more. More git command, git status. Okay. Save it. Now if you go and look into the versions, do you see a new version got created? This is how versioning works. You got a new version of that file created. If I go and delete the actual file, I can retrieve the file from this version, or I can have multiple versions created and I can go and view whichever version I want. Like let's go and make one more version. In this version, I'll add a different command, git cherry pick. Okay. Let me save this. Now if you go and see, I got two versions created. This is the latest versions which I have created. Now if I go and just delete this file, I still have the versions. See this. I've deleted the file, even the deleted version got created. Now if you want to go back to the previous version, the one which we have written the git status command, I can go and make this as current version. See this. Now if you go and check the files, then this will be make it as current git status. That should be the, so git log, this was the actual file which we created, the first version which we created. Now this is how you can just switch around to whichever version you want. Make this as current. This is how versioning will take care. It will make sure the backup of the file is created, and whenever there's a change, the change is also registered. So versioning plays a very important role when you're storing some important data. Now again, I want to give an example of state files. So Terraform state file, because there are multiple people making multiple changes, then you should always enable versioning so that you have the information of the state file. What exactly is state file and all, we'll talk about that later. For now, there are files. If you think the files are very important and you need to capture every change made to that particular file, that you should enable versioning. There are multiple benefits of versioning. Firstly, it captures every change. Secondly, it takes a backup also. So basically, if you see, there are 4 backups created already. Okay, so it will take a backup also for you. Make sense? Anyone? Any questions with versioning? Okay, second option is snapshot. Snapshot is nothing but, guys, it's taking the exact copy as a backup. So whatever you have, like whatever data you have till now, and if you want to take a complete backup of it till this time, then you can create a snapshot. Now if you see, this is a backup got created, and this was the date when it was modified, and this is the size. Now this file has the complete data in it. So snapshot is, if I took the snapshot at 7:43 just now, so till this time, whatever data we had in this file got copied and got backed up. Now, after 7:43, if I'm making any changes in my file, that will not be replicated to snapshot. Keep this in mind. That will get captured in your versioning. That is a different story. But in a snapshot, it's a backup. It's a backup taken till the time. Okay. So if I make any changes to the file now, no data will be captured by the snapshot. You need to create one more snapshot basically if you want to have those data. So this is a typical backup what we take. So like the VM backup, guys, remember we were creating the VM backup. Same goes with Blob backup. This is how you can take the backup. Edit and all, we have already seen it. Generate SAS. SAS is nothing but it's a secured access. So these are the keys which you can create for accessing data from outside. This is something I'll talk about later. For now, how do we create keys and how do we access, how do we delegate access and things like that. This is the place wherein you can have the keys created for this particular blob. Okay. Now this is what your blob is all about. Now there is one option called soft delete. Soft delete is nothing but a grace period by which your data will be permanently deleted. Okay. Soft delete is nothing but it's a grace period by which the data will be permanently deleted or removed from Azure. So by mistakenly it happens. We are all humans. We tend to make errors. So how do we avoid such things? Now, so by enabling soft delete, like suppose if I delete this blob completely from here, this is the blob which I'm deleting completely from here. So my data will be completely gone. No versioning and everything will work. It will be gone. The container will be deleted completely. Now, if you make such mistakes in your production, that's a huge loss, correct? You may end up deleting some very important data of your client. Then you will reach out to Azure that if you have created a replica, kindly give me the replica and all. That's a big story which you will have to go back and forth with Azure and do this. But what all things you can do at your level to secure things? So the minimum you can do is the enabling soft delete. And in soft delete, you can keep a minimum day of 7 or maximum 30. You can keep it that even if someone deletes something by mistakenly, the data should still be there so that I can recover it whenever I want. Okay. How do you enable soft delete? Come to your data management, come to data protection. Do you see there's an enable soft delete for blobs, enable soft delete for containers, enable soft delete for blobs. So at the container level also you can enable, at the blob level also you can enable. The minimum you have to keep it for 7 days. Maximum you can keep it whatever days you want. Okay. So 7 days the minimum you can keep it. Now I have enabled soft delete at both the levels. So setting may take up 30 seconds to take effect. So you have soft delete enabled. Now let's wait while this soft delete is getting executed. Now if you want, we can completely delete it. Gone, deleted. We deleted the container. Now you said we have enabled soft delete. Where is the soft delete working now? Don't worry guys, at the top there is an option of show deleted containers. Do you see this? Deleted one now. This is showing because you have enabled soft delete, guys. Now undeleted. This is how you will save your time and energy. deleted. Okay, the soft delete was not took place until this time, guys. So it should basically should come up in a bit. Yeah, it's there. Now do you see we got this container? This will save your life in multiple ways if you delete something by mistakenly. Not this soft delete option is not just with storage account. You can have this with VMs, Vault. In Vault you'll automatically get this soft delete enabled. Okay, because Vault is very critical resource wherein you're putting very critical data such as your keys and things. So Vault will have your soft delete enabled automatically for 7 days. So all other resources also you can enable this soft delete option. Okay. Any questions? Anyone? No questions? Okay. Now then we'll talk about life cycle. If you guys remember, we had all this LRS, GRS, ZRS. Now how do we make this data more redundant? And firstly, how do you make sure that your datas are transferred from hot tier, where's the paint diagram, hot tier to cool tier and archive tier automatically? Will you go and look into data? Okay, this data is not accessed for 30 days. Now let's put this into cool tier. Will you go and look into this data? This data is not accessed for more than 180 days. Let's put it into archive tier. Will you do it manually? No. You should have a life cycle management. Automatically the data should go into the the required tiers. How do you do the lifecycle management? There's an option of lifecycle management over here. Using this option, you can go and automatically make sure that your data are moved into the respective tiers. Okay, you can click on add rule, give a rule name, Valaxy rule. It is asking for apply rules to all the blobs in your storage account, or do you want to filter it out, like any specific filters? So just make it for all. What are the blob types? So this is block blobs, correct? We are using block blob. It's not append. Block subtype base block. Or do you want to the back? Do you want to push the snapshots and versions also? Yeah, if you have kept snapshot and version, definitely you should push those also to your next year. So I'll just enable this. Next.
What is a base?
Yep. Tell me.
What is a base block? In blob
This
subtype,
is
you are
okay. Base blob is the data what we have currently. The data which we are keeping. The node file, the nodes.txt, that's your base blob. And the
okay. And
version which you're creating, that becomes version, and the snapshot which you're creating, that becomes snapshots. Okay.
basically, base blob is a type of the file.
Yes. So basically,
Okay.
whatever data you're keeping, that's a base blob. That is the naming given to it.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the details which we added. Now there are if conditions, if and then conditions. Base blobs, if more than 30 days, then delete the blob. No, I don't want to delete it. Then move it to cool storage. Okay. What is the condition? Base blob last modified more than 30 days, then move it to cool storage. There's other condition which I can prove. Base blob more than 180 days, then move it to archive storage. Skip the blob that has been rehydrated in the last 7 days. Rehydrated means if it has been used again, then skip it, or else move it to archive. After that, if you have any condition, base blob more than, let's imagine 365 days, then delete it. You're keeping a data for 1 year. After 1 year, if no one is coming and accessing the data, then the data should be deleted. If you have any such policies, then you can have this created. Now there are three conditions we have added. Now you can add the same thing for snapshot and versions also, because you have checked those boxes. Now snapshot, after 60 days, delete it. As simple as that. I don't want to keep unnecessary. I want to keep snapshots. 60 days or better, 30 days. Same goes with my version. 30 days, deleted. Because we are already taking the base blob backup. So unnecessary, we don't have to do all this. Now this is what my rule is. Valaxy rule. This is what the rule we have created. You can go and check the if then condition what we just added. Now this will be what start. This has taken place, guys. Now if my data is more than 30 days, then it will start moving my data from my storage account. It will start moving my data to these conditions which we have put in. If you want to move your data manually by yourself to a different tier, even that is possible. Not recommended, but if you want to have, then that is possible. Change tier. Cool. So this is a bit of cheap as compared to hot tier. Okay, but this is manual. You should not do, because how many times we'll go and see, okay, which data is more than 30 days, which needs to be posted and things like that. Manually not recommended at all, but this is something you can make this as an automated process. Now if I want to delete something, like suppose you want to permanently delete, it's better to disable this options, then you can go and delete it. Okay, you have disabled your soft delete and all these options, then you can go and delete it. Redundancy, we have selected LRS. As I spoke last time, if you want to enable GRS and RAGRS, then you can come and select it over here. Now if you select this and if you save it, automatically the data will start getting replicated to other zones also. So Azure Storage application copies your data that protects from transit hardware failure, network or power outage, or any natural calamities. Okay, so it's not that you have selected LRS, you have to stick with LRS. Later, if your requirement changes and if you want to change the redundancy, then this is something you can come and change it from here. Okay, any questions till now, guys? Let me think if there's anything basic missing right now. No questions? Okay, so let me think. Okay, networking. At the storage level, when I was creating the storage account, I have enabled public networking. Now under storage account networking, you can disable it. If you don't want public access, you can come and disable, and you can give very specific access. If you want to give a range of public IP you want to give access to, or if you want to give access to only a particular person and things like that, or any particular network and all, then you have this option enabled to all networks. Then this is public access. Enable from selected virtual network and IP address. So I don't have any selected virtual network or IP address right now, but if I had, then you can have those virtual network over here added. So only that virtual network, so resources to that virtual network will have access to this storage account. Now suppose just imagine there is a VM. This is your virtual network. Imagine this is a virtual network. Inside this virtual network, you got multiple VMs created. And this is your storage account created. And you want only this VM should access the storage account. So if you want to access to this storage account, only from this VM the access should happen. Even this is possible. As if now it's a public access which I've given, correct? My storage account I'm able to access from my browser. That means from my local system I'm able to access my VM. But if you want to have more security, you can have this option, existing virtual network. I don't have it now, or else I would have selected it. Now if you see, I can add my own firewall rule. If you see, add your client IP. So this is my local system IP, my laptop IP. This is, if I want to only allow myself to access this, I can just tick this box and I can, only myself I'll have access to this particular storage account, not everyone. So this is at the network layer. There are multiple things. Don't worry about this virtual network and all. I'll have a topic wherein I'll be setting up VMs, and I'll be creating a file share, and only with that VM will have access to the file share storage account. So this is all we'll do in practical. So this is just a good to know information which I'm giving right now. In tomorrow's session, when this is today we are learning containers. Tomorrow we'll learn file share, wherein we'll set up our own file share from scratch. Okay. So I think
So
that's it.
today you have,
Yeah,
oh,
tell me.
sorry.
Tell me.
Yes, so today you have shown all the theoretical part. So is this all this included in that that PPT do you have shared on that link, means that our Valaxy portal?
The hot tier and cool tier, these are small topics, so I have not created any PPT as such. But you have your storage replication, your storage services, what exactly storage account, all these are covered. And the next, there is an endpoint topic which I will covering, wherein this virtual network topic will come in. So even that is there in the PPT. And this small topics are basically I keep a habit of writing in a text. So this is how it is written. If you want, I can share this notes with you. So this is
Yes,
this
please.
is what I'll share it with you guys. This notes I'll share it with Valaxy team. They will upload it on the portal. That notes will keep on appending, guys. So if you see, as the topic moves ahead, this note keeps on appending. So always you will find a new version of this note. So if you want, I can share it with you guys just for your reference. Okay.
Thanks.
So tomorrow, guys, there are two topics. We'll see how do we deploy static application or static website on storage account. So we can host a static website on storage account. That is something we'll see tomorrow. One, the first thing. The second thing is we'll create a file share and we'll have a NFS mount done on a Linux virtual machine. This is how do we use file share, basically keeping that in mind. So these are two practical stuff what we will do tomorrow, just an FYI. Make sure to practice, and I'll be sharing these notes also. So in this notes, whatever we have done till now, all those information will be there, followed by this blob and hot tier, whatever we did today for your reference. So I'll share this. Don't look otherwise, because there are relative, absolute, there are many things I've already. So there is one more batch which is going, which is 2 weeks ahead than this batch. So I've already covered all these topics for them. So don't look into this, just focus on these two topics which we have covered. I'll put it in the chat if you want to copy paste and keep it now. So just keep it. Okay. Anyone has any questions, guys, before we wind up the call for today? Any questions? So there are multiple things which we have done today. Make sure to go and create the storage account, have a look and feel, and do the things by yourself. The way I've enabled soft delete, the way I've enabled versioning, go and create different versions, go and create Lifecycle, and go and delete the files and see if you're able to recover the files or not. Try every nook, everything from your end. Then only you'll understand the concepts very well. Okay, so this is the easiest way of accessing. Later we can explore the storage explorer. How do we access data using storage explorer also? Okay, just keep this in mind. If anyone has any questions, please do let me know, or else we can wind up the call for today, guys. Anyone has any questions? And once you're done, make sure to delete everything, guys. Everything comes with a cost. Make sure you're not end up paying unnecessary dollars to Microsoft. Delete it, and when you delete, you're secure. There's no extra charges. Okay. If anyone has any questions, guys, please do let me know, or else we can wind up the call for today. No questions? We still have time, guys. We have 5 minutes. Okay, no question, then I can probably wind up the call. Thank you very much. Let's meet up tomorrow and let's continue this storage account topic. Bye bye.